It's your boy Willie D. I'm back at it with another video, and this is some free game that I wanted to just drop on y'all just to let you guys know if you're not getting these kind of results in your career, maybe you should consider going and getting good at sales. And this is a video about how I personally have made almost $1 million in the last 5 years at a sales job. It was not my own company, it was me being a sales rep. I'm gonna walk you through year by year my advancement, what that looks like, and some of the lessons I learned along the way. Year number one, I was what they call a green pea, okay? That's someone who's fresh in the game, who's new into sales, who doesn't know anything. So first things first, I got hired at a Lexus dealership. I was fresh on the car lot, and in that first year, I was really getting my act together. I was still kind of coming out of sleeping on a friend's couch. I didn't have a lot of money, and I was still like doing drugs and drinking, and my mind was kind of clouded. But I knew I wanted to get good at sales, and I started reading some Grant Cardone books. In that very first year though, I will say, the previous year to that, I had made $20,000, something very, very low. I stepped on the car lot, I started getting it going, putting in the reps. I started coming to work early. I started leaving late. That very first year, I clocked $72,000, which is fucking way more than what I had ever expected to make. That left me hungry. The next year, I was like, all right, I gotta beat that now. I was all in. That's all I needed to see was making that kind of money. So year number two, at this point in time, I'm really starting to get my roll on, and I think I was one of the top salesmen at the dealership. Month in, month out, I was at least in the top 2 or 3. At this time, there was probably 30 salespeople there. So I was starting to get it. I was always 1 or 2, or maybe number 3 on the list, but I was all up there at the top at this point. So year number 2, I actually clocked in $96,000 that year. I did so good that year, they actually offered me a position where I actually ended up moving to Hawaii, which is crazy. I know, it's fucking insane. I can't believe I did it, but I had nothing like holding me back here in Los Angeles. So I decided, fuck it, I'm gonna go to Hawaii because they offered me like a sales manager position, which I really wanted. I really wanted. It really meant a lot to me. Sales manager basically is you just oversee the salespeople and you've got to close all the deals. And I was such a good closer that it made sense that they put me there anyway because I was closing so many deals. So they shipped me off to Maui. I'm living in paradise, so they say, and I'm selling cars at the dealership. At this point, I'm a manager. I'm 3 years in the business, and I clocked in at $150,000 that year. Some of the lessons I learned after making $150,000 was the importance of just building relationships with people and making the staff feel comfortable and trust you and not talking down to them like they're like employees. That was a big lesson I learned because right away when I first came in, I was kind of talking to people like at them, and a bunch of sales guys ended up quitting. And I knew like it was my fault because I didn't know how to manage people. So relationships and being able to manage people, that's super important. That's something I do now. So anyways, that was the year I made $150,000. So year number 4, I end up flying back to LA, and I'm still working in the car business, and I'm still in the same position. I got better and better at managing people, and I got really good at selling cars for high profit. And that comes back to, you know, the importance of knowledge, right? Like you don't know what you don't know. And so the reason I didn't make $150,000 my first year is because I didn't know something. And then year number 4, I actually doubled it and I made $300,000. I'm on my check, on my W-2. You know, and it all just came back down to knowledge, like knowing how to sell properly, knowing how to close, and like knowing the objections that they're gonna throw at me. Like there's not an objection in the world now. If I walk into any car dealership in America, like I'm gonna close a deal. I can close anybody in a dealership because I know and I've been through it, right? So knowledge is power, and knowledge is what makes anyone kind of like excel in their career and make more money. And then this takes us back to year number 5, okay? I'm still at the dealership, I'm grinding, I'm doing my thing. Even after 4 years so far, there was one thing in sales that I still didn't know fully, and it was 2 fundamental principles. First one is always agree with the customer. I learned that from Grant Cardone, but I didn't really understand it until I started practicing. You have to always agree with a customer no matter what. Even if the customer tells you like you're the most ugly, stupid fucking guy I've ever met in my life, you know, you literally have to say, hey, completely agree. You know, thank you so much for sharing that with me, and then move on to whatever you're gonna say. The second a deal falls apart, typically it's because you fell out of agreement. And then number 2 would be, it's always stay in agreement. I'd say this is equally important. It's listen your way into the sale. And this is the reason I'm gonna share with you in a moment how much I made in year 5. And so like, what do I mean by listening your way into the sale? A lot of salespeople, we're trained to talk, but that's actually wrong. You wanna ask and then be quiet. And literally sometimes, even if you don't know what to say next, don't say anything at all and just let the customer naturally start spilling out information. Like a question, for example, like, hey, let me ask you something. What would this look like for you if you didn't do this today? And they go, well, I don't know. I mean, we would be shopping around. Whatever their answer is, and then you go, oh, okay. And then just ask why. And they're gonna continue telling you. And they're gonna start basically brain dumping and spilling all their emotional stuff out at you, which is what you want, which allows you to close them. They're gonna actually tell you how to close them. So after understanding to never fall out of agreement and then to listen my way into the sale, that 5th year, I clocked over 350,000. So that's how I did it. And that's actually how I was able to buy my first home in Los Angeles. And if you're in a career right now where that kind of trajectory isn't even possible, like you're just capped at like $40,000 a year, something that you're never gonna make any money at, like maybe you should actually consider like getting into sales or learning how to sell. Because I guarantee you, the company that you're at, working there right now at your dead end position, they have a sales department that you can go make $300,000-$400,000 a year at. So that totals up to $963,000 in 5 years. That's how I did it. I hope you got some value out of this. If you guys have any questions, drop a comment. I look at every single question and I always want to make sure that I answer those questions for you guys, okay? There's free cold calling scripts. There's free objection handlers in the description. A whole bunch of free stuff in the link below. Guys, I do this because I love you and I really want you guys to win. So I feel like if I can share what I've learned, maybe give it to some of y'all and you guys can fucking go out there and kill it and make yourself almost $1 million in 5 years.